Have you ever woken up at dawn, looked around at your life, and felt a profound emptiness, a hollow ache beneath all your accomplishments? You've done everything society told you to do. You've chased success, climbed the ladder, and ticked off every box they put in front of you. Yet here you are, quietly asking yourself in the early morning silence, is this really all there is? You aren't alone in this feeling. Carl Jung called this emptiness the general neurosis of our times, a crisis not rooted in clinical disorder, but in the quiet realization that the life you've built feels strangely hollow. It might surprise you to learn that research has shown people who lack a clear sense of purpose are twice as likely to suffer from depression and anxiety. Jung himself noted that nearly a third of his patients weren't mentally ill. They were simply starved for meaning. You see, the first half of life is about proving ourselves, impressing others and achieving security, but at some point, usually in our 40s, a profound shift occurs. The things that once fulfilled us suddenly feel empty. Jung wrote, "We cannot live the afternoon of life according to the program of life's morning. For what was great in the morning will be little at evening." Maybe you've felt that gnawing uncertainty late at night or in the silence of a commute, wondering if you chose the wrong path or missed your chance. It's uncomfortable, even terrifying, to admit that success might have left you more lost than failure ever could. But here is the truth Jung uncovered. This painful realization isn't punishment, it's an invitation. It's life's way of whispering that you've outgrown the old script. It's a call not just to exist, but to live fully, to awaken to who you truly are beneath the titles, accomplishments, and expectations. You're at a crossroads now, a moment of choice that can alter the rest of your life. And the question isn't whether you've succeeded by society's standards, it's whether you've lived authentically by your own. So ask yourself honestly, whose life have you been living? The one that others admire, or the one that feels real and meaningful to you? Right now, imagine something unsettling. What if the life you're currently living isn't actually your own? What if, beneath all the roles you've carefully constructed, parent, spouse, colleague, achiever, you don't really know who you are? It's a frightening thought, yet deep down, you sense its truth. Carl Jung described this moment as the critical turning point called individuation, your journey toward becoming who you were truly meant to be. He said boldly, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But answering this inner call isn't easy. It means facing uncomfortable questions like, if I stripped away my job, my achievements, my reputation, who would I be at my core? It forces you to confront the unsettling fact that maybe you've spent decades fulfilling everyone else's expectations except your own. James Hollis, one of today's most prominent Jungian analysts, put it bluntly, who, apart from the roles you've played, are you? Think about that carefully. Can you even answer the question? Or does the silence frighten you? Many hesitate to step away from familiar roles because they fear disappointing those they love, partners, parents, children. The cost of authenticity might seem high, but consider this. Disappointing others temporarily is preferable to living permanently disappointed in yourself. Jung himself emphasized that every person has a unique internal blueprint, a calling that demands to be honored. Ignoring this inner calling creates a deeper pain than any external judgment ever could. This inner voice, the whisper that keeps nudging you toward a different path, isn't random. It's your authentic self, desperately trying to guide you toward fulfillment. Ignoring it means betraying yourself again and again until your life becomes a story written by others. So here's your choice clearly stated. You can either live with temporary discomfort as you step into your true self, or carry the permanent weight of regret, silently wondering what might have been. Ask yourself now courageously, am I willing to risk external approval to finally become who I was always meant to be? Because becoming yourself isn't merely an option, it's your deepest responsibility. Right now, something hidden deep within you is quietly shaping your life. It influences your choices, relationships, and the hidden fears that keep you awake at night. You might sense its presence at moments, a sudden burst of anger you didn't know existed, a wave of sadness you quickly push aside, or the unsettling realization that you're secretly ashamed of parts of yourself. Carl Jung called this powerful force within us the shadow, the dark, unconscious part of our personality filled with traits, emotions, and desires we've spent our entire lives suppressing. The shadow is the side of you society told you was unacceptable. Your rage, your grief, your vulnerability, even your darkest impulses. Yet here's the troubling truth. Ignoring this shadow doesn't make it disappear. Instead, it quietly gains strength, operating from the unconscious to sabotage your life. Jung famously warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Think deeply about this. How many times have you exploded at someone you love without fully understanding why? Or sabotaged opportunities for reasons you couldn't explain, even to yourself? This is your shadow, begging to be acknowledged, demanding to be heard. It's the voice you've been silencing, the emotions you've been running from, the hidden truths you've never dared confront. Jordan Peterson, echoing Jung, described confronting this shadow as an essential part of growth, stating, "No tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." In other words, your capacity for fulfillment, authenticity, and genuine power depends entirely upon your willingness to bravely step into your own darkness. This is not about becoming perfect, it's about becoming whole. Consider the man who always presented himself as calm, composed, and successful. To everyone around him, he seemed perfectly in control, but beneath the surface, he harbored deep resentment, anger, and pain from childhood experiences he'd never processed. These emotions remained hidden until one day, unexpectedly, they burst through, fracturing his marriage and friendships. It wasn't until he finally confronted those buried emotions through deep, uncomfortable self-exploration that he understood the shadow had been controlling his life. In facing his pain, anger, and sadness directly, he reclaimed his life, finding clarity, honesty, and a freedom he never thought possible. This might be the hardest thing you ever do, facing the darkness within, but it is also the most liberating because, as Jung said plainly, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Your shadow isn't your enemy. It's the hidden part of yourself you've refused to love. Your freedom lies in welcoming these rejected aspects, accepting them, and ultimately integrating them into your identity. Only then can you truly say you are living your own life, not one dictated by hidden fears or secret shames. The shadow may frighten you now, but understand this clearly. On the other side of that fear lies your truest self, waiting patiently to be reclaimed. Have you ever experienced a coincidence so extraordinary that it felt as though the universe itself was directly speaking to you? Perhaps you've dreamed vividly of a symbol, a bird, a number, or a familiar face, only to encounter that exact symbol again the very next day. These strange coincidences aren't just random events. Carl Jung called them synchronicities, meaningful events that happen precisely when your inner world aligns profoundly with the external world. You might dismiss these as mere chance, but what if they're not? Jung himself encountered a remarkable example. A patient of his once described a dream in which a golden scarab beetle appeared. At that very moment, a real scarab beetle tapped against the window of his therapy room, a creature incredibly rare in that region. This startling coincidence broke through the woman's skepticism and opened her up to profound psychological transformation. Jung saw synchronicity as evidence that our lives are not merely random sequences of events. Instead, life itself has an underlying meaning hidden beneath the surface, speaking to us in symbols, dreams, and unexpected encounters. But why would life communicate this way? Jung believed our unconscious minds, deep reservoirs of wisdom and intuition, express themselves through symbolic patterns called archetypes. These archetypes, universal images and characters, appear consistently in myths, dreams, and stories across human history. You've encountered them countless times without even realizing it. The hero who faces adversity, the wise mentor who appears precisely when guidance is needed most, the shadow lurking in the corners of our consciousness, and the self, the unified, authentic essence of who you truly are. Consider the hero archetype that lives within you. Have you ever faced a challenge so daunting it felt impossible, yet found within yourself the courage to keep going? That was your inner hero calling you toward growth and transformation. Or maybe you've encountered someone who offered you advice exactly when you needed it, as if they knew precisely what your soul required. That was the archetype of the mentor, quietly guiding you along your life's path. These archetypes aren't just abstract ideas, they're real psychological forces shaping your life right now. They appear repeatedly until you acknowledge and integrate their lessons. Ever wonder why certain problems or relationship patterns keep repeating themselves? According to Jung, they're messages from your unconscious, nudging you toward the growth you keep resisting. Clarissa Pinkola Estés, a Jungian storyteller, put it beautifully. One of the most calming and powerful actions you can do is to stand up and show your soul. Soul on deck shines like gold in dark times. Your soul, the deepest, truest part of you, is constantly trying to communicate through dreams, intuition, and synchronistic events. These are not random. They're deliberate breadcrumbs laid down by your psyche, guiding you toward the truth of who you are and why you're here. The challenge now is not just to recognize these signs, but to trust them, to allow them to shape your decisions, to guide your path. Your inner world is in constant conversation with the outer one. Each synchronicity, a gentle affirmation that you are on the right path, or perhaps a subtle course correction when you've wandered astray. Pay attention, because your life is speaking to you right now. These hidden signs and symbols are quietly guiding you towards something extraordinary, the person you were always meant to become. Imagine losing everything you've ever worked for, the career you sacrificed countless hours to build, the reputation you fought so hard to uphold, even the relationships you believed would sustain you forever. Now imagine discovering in the depths of that loss that losing everything was actually the greatest gift you ever received. Carl Jung understood that profound transformation rarely arises from comfort or stability. Instead, it often emerges from crisis. The terrifying moment when the carefully crafted life you've built comes crashing down. Jung boldly declared, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." This isn't a comforting thought, yet it's profoundly true. To fully grasp this, consider the ancient myth of Inanna's descent. Inanna, a queen revered by many, voluntarily travels to the underworld, surrendering her crown, her jewels, her robes. Stripping away every layer of her identity at each gate she encounters, naked and utterly defenseless, she's eventually struck down and left lifeless. It's only in a symbolic death, in complete surrender, that Inanna is reborn wiser and stronger. Jung saw in this ancient story a powerful metaphor for the human psyche's descent during crisis. To evolve, to become who you're truly meant to be, you must first surrender your old identity, endure the symbolic death of your ego, and embrace profound vulnerability. But this isn't just mythology, it's reflected vividly in real human experiences. Consider the story of Rowland Hazard, a wealthy and respected American businessman from the early 20th century who struggled deeply with alcoholism. After repeated failures in treatment, Hazard traveled to Switzerland seeking Jung's help. Instead of offering conventional advice, Jung delivered a devastating truth. Medical science couldn't save him, only a profound spiritual awakening could free him from addiction. Jung's stark honesty pushed Hazard into a deeply painful existential crisis. But instead of destroying him, this crisis became the catalyst for his transformation. Hazard returned home, found a spiritual community, and achieved lasting sobriety. His recovery directly inspired Bill Wilson, who would go on to found Alcoholics Anonymous, helping millions worldwide overcome their struggles. Jung later reflected on Hazard's case, remarking that his addiction was actually a misguided search for spiritual wholeness. The darkness you face, the uncertainty, loss, and even despair, is not a punishment or sign of failure. It's the essential passage through which your true self emerges. It's a trial meant not to break you, but to liberate you. It's life's greatest paradox. The deeper your suffering, the greater your potential for profound transformation. Remember the successful executive who, at the height of his career, suffered a devastating burnout? Initially, he felt humiliated, as though he'd lost everything he'd ever valued. Yet this breakdown proved to be his awakening. Realizing the life he built wasn't aligned with his authentic self, he courageously abandoned a lucrative corporate position, rejected external validation, and began exploring a new path dedicated to wellness and genuine human connection. The darkness he initially feared became his gateway to genuine fulfillment, authentic happiness, and lasting purpose. You too stand at this threshold now. You can cling desperately to the life you've always known, or courageously surrender to the discomfort, uncertainty, and darkness that precede profound change. It's not easy, it may be the hardest choice you'll ever make, but recognize this clearly: the pain of transformation is temporary. The regret of staying stuck lasts a lifetime. Your darkest night is not your end, it's your turning point. And just beyond this darkness, a new dawn awaits, the dawn of the person you were always meant to be. Fast forward your life 10, 20, even 30 years from now. Imagine looking back, reflecting deeply on your choices. What would haunt you most? Risking everything to become your authentic self, or safely living a life dictated by the expectations of others, forever wondering what might have been? Carl Jung believed the greatest tragedy wasn't failure, struggle, or loss. It was the failure to fulfill the unique potential within your own soul. He declared emphatically, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." The purpose you've been searching for isn't external, a title, salary, or achievement. It's deeply internal, the quiet, courageous alignment of your outer life with your truest self. Yet, living this way is rarely easy. Clarissa Pinkola Estés, a prominent Jungian analyst, warned, "To be ourselves causes us to be exiled by many others, yet to comply with what others want causes us to be exiled from ourselves." Think deeply about that statement. You've spent decades meeting the expectations of your family, your peers, your culture, but what about your expectations of yourself? Are you prepared to risk temporary disapproval from others to finally gain lasting approval from yourself? James Hollis stated powerfully, "We serve the world best by discovering what feeds us and then sharing our authentic selves with others." Your greatest contribution to the world isn't conformity, it's your authenticity. When you courageously embrace who you truly are, you give others permission to do the same. Your authenticity becomes a quiet rebellion, a powerful statement that says, "I will no longer betray my own soul." Realize this clearly: the search for purpose isn't a single event or quick decision, it's an ongoing journey, a courageous daily choice. Purpose is something you become, not something you merely find. Each day you'll have the chance to compromise or remain authentic, to please others or to honor your own truth. Each decision, no matter how small, matters deeply because it shapes your life. Jung believed passionately that every person possesses an inner calling, a mythic blueprint that, if followed, reveals the most meaningful life imaginable. Your task isn't merely to achieve, accumulate, or impress. Your task is to live authentically, to honor your soul's quiet whisper above society's loud expectations. Your responsibility is to illuminate your corner of existence with the unique brilliance only you possess. Now consider this. You're here, watching this, not by chance, but because you're ready. You're ready to confront your shadow, listen to your intuition, embrace discomfort, and courageously step into your true purpose. And when you do, the life awaiting you won't simply be better. It'll be yours, deeply and authentically yours. Your time is now. The call you've ignored for too long has finally become undeniable. You stand at the crossroads of who you've always been and who you're truly meant to be. The path you choose now defines the rest of your life. Choose courage. Choose authenticity. Choose the profound privilege of becoming who you truly are. Because the truth you've sought all along isn't outside you, it has always been within, patiently waiting for you to claim it. This is your moment. Live your myth.